the Democratic race for the 4th Congressional District.
And good evening. I'm Jonathan Seri, a reporter for the Southeast Bureau of Fox News. We'd like to welcome our viewers and our live studio audience to the Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young debate series originating from the studios of Georgia Public Broadcasting. This is the debate among the Democratic candidates in Georgia's 4th Congressional District, which covers all of Rockdale County and parts of DeKalb, Gwinnett, and Newton counties. Some of the largest cities in this region include Covington, Conyers, and Lithonia. Now let's meet the candidates. They are in alphabetical order. Courtney Dillard is a minister, founder of Prayer Room Organization Incorporated, a life member of the NAACP, and board member of the Rockdale House for Men and Women. Courtney Dillard will get the first question from Tom Baxter. Tom?
Mr. Dillard, you've said that you want to see to it that Rockdale and Newton counties have more representation. What are the biggest needs of those counties, and how do they differ from the parts of the district that are closer into Metro Atlanta, and how would you address those needs in Congress?
Well, I'd like to first start by reminding the people that in the 4th District, it includes now Newton County, Rockdale County, and of course the DeKalb County and Gwinnett County areas. And the most unique thing about the district now is that it is a minority-majority district. And so the needs that really I think that a lot of people have been communicating is that, again, there just needs to be representation on the federal level to support the local elected officials with regards to federal funding and various services that are available. Many constituents feel like that there's been a lot left on the table with regards to the demographic there. And so our hope is that we will have a new congressman in the new district.
We'll move along to Michelle Wright, your question for Courtney Dillard.
Mr. Dillard, on your website you talk about returning to the Maynard-Jackson doctrine. What is that, for those who don't know, and how do you propose that you'll do that if elected?
Well, Maynard Jackson, of course, our former mayor, and he was a great mayor of the city of Atlanta that brought what I believe is the entrepreneurial spirit to not only Atlanta, but also to the state of Georgia. But what it actually means is Maynard Jackson actually produced public policy mandates that allowed for 20 to 25% of minorities in the community to participate in partnerships and business agreements, like, for example, with Hartsfield Jackson International Airport. And we'd like to think that with the high number of minorities and, of course, women in our community, that there would be a greater sense of participation in these large economic rents or business agreements that occur in our community.
By random selection, Courtney Dillard asks the first question.
Mr. Johnson, in your absence, I would like to pose this question to you. Cities and states and organizations, even countries like the United States, have mottos to stir up the feeling of patriotism. The United States motto is, of course, "In God We Trust." And it has been our legal motto since around the mid-1950s. Georgia currently allows motors to display the motto on car license plate. What is the issue, Mr. Johnson, that you have with the national motto? And because it sets off a level of patriotism in our community, in this country, my question is, what problem do you have with God? And how can we be sure that you will continue to represent the values and the patriotism of our country and the 4th District?
All right, Mr. Dillard.
Yes.
You said that Congress has the lowest approval rating in history. What do you think what's the cause of this, and how do we fix it?
Well, it's a good question, and that's one that everybody's asking. And I think it's clear that there's no workability in Congress. There is no ability to be able to work not only between Republicans and Democrats, but literally to work amongst people. And we have to change that. We have to get back to a place where not only in our own community, but also in Washington, where we can begin to work together as people, not recognizing always that it's about, Democrats and Republicans, but understanding that in order to move this country forward as a nation, we have to work together. And so our theme is America for a Better Way. And what this means is clearly, whether you're Republican or whether you're a Democrat, we have to begin to find new levels and new measures so that we can begin to work together as citizens of the United States of America.
And now Mr. Nunnally does get a rebuttal.
All right. Good answer. I agree with a lot of that.
Mr. Dillard, tell me your views on the Federal Health Care Act.
My views are, I think, very clear. I think the Affordable Health Care Act is good. I think that it's necessary. As a person who had grown up with a chronic disease, asthma, I know the letdown it can be in the house when there's no insurance. I've seen kids in the community that have had to suffer that couldn't get to the hospital. But furthermore, I believe that if health care is not dealt with on the federal level, I think there's a good possibility that our local communities will further be stricken at the local level because there's so many citizens that are not able to provide for their own health care. So there may be some things that need to be tweaked, but for the most part, the broad stroke of what the affordable health care represents, I think is good.
Going to call time. Next question from Walter Jones.
Yes, Mr. Dillard, you're running against someone in your own party. And one of the things that your election would mean is giving up the seniority and the establishment of relationships that Congressman Johnson has. Why do you think that that the voters in this district should take a chance on you and to give up what he brings to the table?
Well, that's simple. Building relationships is not a difficult process for me. I mean, in running the campaign, we've had to introduce ourselves to many individuals throughout the 4th District. I mean, nearly 700,000 people are in the 4th District, and we have introduced ourselves to politicians, ministers, and everyday citizens in the community. I think that based upon where we are now, I think it sends a clear message that not only can Courtney Dillard start from the ground and move very quickly, even in Washington, in terms of establishing credible, committed relationships that will allow us to have a clear voice and a strong voice of commitment, not only to politics, but also to this nation. And I think that's the skill set that's really needed. I don't think that we can deal with whether or not someone's been in for 6 years and has only moved, a mile versus someone that has the opportunity to come in 2 years, possibly move twice that distance.
And next question from Tom Baxter.
Mr. Dillard, it really could be one of the most fundamental political questions of the next several decades, judging from the increase in severe weather situations that we've had in recent years. Do you believe human beings are primarily responsible for climate change? And if you think so, what do you think is government's responsibility to address it?
Well, humans, contribute to a lot of things, both good and bad. With regards to climate change, I think that we do send off a lot of pollutants into the atmosphere. I'm not a scientist, so I don't know the absolute effects of what the causes are to emissions and things like that. But I think that you're right. It's a great debate. And I think that we just need to sit down with not only our national but local leaders and collectively come up with a solution that's going to be good for the nation as a whole.
Our final closing statement comes from Courtney Dillard.
Again, my name is Courtney Dillard, and I ask for your vote. Our congressman has failed. This is a new district, and we need new leadership. I'm asking that every individual, whether Democrat or Republican, choose Courtney Dillard, pull a Democratic ballot, and vote for Courtney Dillard as your new United States Congressman. Thank you very much.
And that concludes our debate. We'd like to remind voters that the primary elections will be held this coming Tuesday, July 31st. Our thanks to the candidates and to the panel of journalists. We'd also like to thank the Atlanta Press Club for arranging today's debate. For more information about the Atlanta Press Club, you can visit the Atlanta Press Club at their website, atlantapressclub.org. The debates that air on Georgia Public Broadcasting will be archived on the Press Club's website. This broadcast has been streamed and will be available on demand on GPB's website at gpb.org. I'm Jonathan Seri. Thanks so much for joining us for the Atlanta Press Club's Loudermilk Young Debate Series. Stay with JPB for more debates coming up next. Have a good night.
Become a better voter. Debates continue next with the Republican race for the 4th Congressional District on GPB.
This is a GPB original production.